Like, that's just such a harsh place to be in. Such a dirty job. And to think of, like, you know, sort of the cotton in the ceiling, trapping in the smells, trapping in the, just imagine how a teeny bit of praise from somebody that they might not even know. This guy probably didn't know the editor. They walk out and he says, you know, hey, look, I'm really excited to be ice skating with you. I've seen how insanely great that you are and how much you all deserve to live in safety, tranquility, and peace. And instead of doing what most people do, which is like criticizing them for being dumb and not fighting back and just running away and hiding, he says, look, I believe in you guys, you're amazing. I praise the work that you've done and the development that you have. It's amazing, it's phenomenal. I'm gonna lead a charge directly into the headquarters of all these evil underground monster guys, and we're gonna destroy them. And he goes in with a team, they have this huge adventure, and they get trapped, and finally he like meets the leader, and the leader captures this girl, and this huge epic storyline, and he takes him into his time machine. He finds his time machine and he just brings the leader into the future and kills him, and then comes back and sets everything right. And as a group, they destroy this enemy that they've had for centuries because this one person had belief in them and had praised them, and it turned that into a complete and total revolution that destroyed all the negative future of these evil, you know, cannibal people. He changed everything for the entire future of, you know, the people in human society in this movie, because he had praise for a very small subset of it. So if this guy could literally change hundreds of thousands of people's lives with just a simple amount of praise, imagine what you could do if you apply that in your life. It's huge, it's massive. And then Dale talks a little bit more about Skinner, and he says Skinner's the guy behind like operant conditioning. And he says the use of praise instead of criticism is the basic concept of all of his teachings. And that sort of this great contemporary psychologist has shown through experience with animals and rats. You guys might have seen, you know, like you feed rats when they do something and they'll continue to do it. Same concept we just talked about. And with humans, that when criticism is minimized and praise is emphasized, good things people do will be reinforced and poor things will be removed due to a lack of attention. You do not want to punish people for doing the wrong thing. This guy, the scientist, did not punish or yell at these guys or these, you know, future people for doing the wrong thing and not standing up for themselves. Because if you yell at people, you punish people, or if you have negative responses, it's just gonna make people get defensive, like we talked about earlier. It's gonna make them want to defend themselves, and they will not come over to your way of thinking. What you have to do is have positive reinforcement only on the things that they do that you want, right? And by simply focusing on saying great job every time they do something good instead of focusing on bad things, what it does is it makes them want to do good things even more and more and more and more. Naturally, they'll figure out what the bad things are, and naturally in their own mind they'll have the epiphany that they should stop doing those bad things. And it works insanely well. John Ringelspaugh from North Carolina used this when he was doing it with his kids, and it seems, you know, with a lot of, you know, families, moms and dads, the chief form of communication with these kids was yelling at them, which is awful. Mom would yell at me all the time. It was terrible connection. And in so many cases, the kids became worse rather than better after each session. And so did the parents. There seemed to be no end in sight for this challenge. It was awful. And, you know, this dad, he was determined to use the principles he was learning here, and he reported that he decided to try to praise his kids instead of harping on their faults, because, you know, it's so much easier to harp on faults, but that's the wrong thing to do. And it wasn't easy, you know, at the beginning to try to praise instead of harping. And, you know, when all they could see were negative things, it was really tough to find praise. But what you have to do is you have to take sort of the filter that you look at the world in, right? So you've got like a negative filter that you can look at the world through, and you have a positive filter that you can look at the world through. Remove criticism and negativity from your vocabulary, destroy it from your life, and simply fill that space. Positive energy. I mean, this is stuff we talked about in the Think or Rich course. You guys know this stuff, but it's just so critical. I remember I was having this conversation with a mentor and a coach, and, you know, he's asking me, like, you know, how are you so positive all the time? How are you always having like the best day ever? And I tell him, dude, look, all you have to do is wake up every single day and say this is the best day ever, and then totally remove all preeminent sources of negativity from your life systematically, and only surround yourself in positive situations. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean, like, you know, don't surround yourself with people that are gonna question you when you make a decision. Like, obviously, you need people to question you when you make a decision. I'm talking about like ridiculously stupid negative energy. It has no productive counterfeit. And even if it is productive, if it doesn't serve greater purpose and it's not delivered in the proper ways, like the way that you're learning to do with this book or with this content, it's not, you just have to get rid of negativity. It's a tough thing to do, but if you do, it would change everything. And obviously, you still need to have a diverse perspective of fields and a diverse, group mastermind to look at whatever you're doing. And that's sort of why, you guys are going to develop your mastermind, right? And work on creating those quality bonds and relationships with friends in a group environment, a group setting. Which is really, really, really powerful. So definitely cool that you guys are doing that. And that you're succeeding in that regard. So this daddy decided, to find something, and he finally managed to find something within the first day or two of upsetting things that they were doing that quit happening. And then some of the other faults started to disappear when he was focusing on positivity. They began capitalizing on praise and giving them tons and tons and tons, an abundant amount of praise. And they even began going out of their way to do things right. These kids were changing and no one could believe it. And then, it didn't last forever until the norm was reached and things kind of leveled off. At the beginning, they went back to their old course, which is totally okay. But what's cool is that it was no longer necessary for these parents to react the way that they used to. And the children were doing far more right things than wrong ones. And all this was a result of praising the slightest improvement in the children rather than condemning everything they did wrong. Because if you just tell people what they do wrong, you punish them for it, not the way to grow. That's the way to have, a super authoritative family and a super authoritative household. Be super strict. It's not the way to get the results that you want. If you're interested in the results, you gotta go about it. Not submissively, by focusing on praise of good things. If you ignore the negative things, they will slowly, slowly fade away and disappear with time. This works on jobs too. Keith Roper of Woodland Hills, California, who kind of applied this principle to a situation in his company. It was a really tough thing. There was some material that came into his print shop that was of exceptionally high quality, and the printer who had gone and done this job was a new employee who had been having a really tough time adjusting to the job. And so his supervisor was upset because of what he kind of considered a negative attitude. Was seriously thinking of terminating this guy just because he was a negative person. And when Mr. Roper was informed of the situation, he personally went over to the print shop and had a talk with this young guy and told him not that he was doing a bad job, not that no one liked his personality, not that he might get fired. Instead, he told him how pleased he was with the work he had just received and pointed out it was the best work he had seen produced in that shop for some time. He pointed out exactly why it was superior and how important the young man's contribution was to the company. He said, "You're important, I care about you, thank you for the work, you're doing phenomenal." And that changed everything. How do you think it affected this guy's attitude toward the company? It made him love it. Within days, there was a complete turnaround. He told several of his coworkers about the conversation about how someone in the company really appreciated good work. And from that day on, he was a loyal and dedicated work quality guy. See, the thing is, what Mr. Roper did was not just flatter the young printer and say, "You're good," but instead he specifically pointed out how his work was superior, because he had singled out a specific accomplishment rather than just making general flattering remarks. And his praise became much more meaningful to the person to whom it was given. Everybody likes to be praised, but when the praise is specific, when you give specific, genuine praise, it comes across as sincere, not something the other person might be saying just to make you feel good, because you want to be genuine, right? The principles here are really designed, and they only work when what you're doing comes from the heart. You can't just have like a bag of tricks. It's all about creating an entirely new way of life, surrounded in positive and quality relationship assets. I remember before reading this book and after reading this book, just how the insane quality of my life changed. It kind of all came down core foundation of who I was as a human and my actual underlying personality. And I hope that it's gonna have the same impact and effect and change on you. Talk about changing people. If you and I, if anyone will inspire to change people with whom we come in contact with, to realize the hidden treasures they possess, we can do far more than change people. We can literally transform them. And here's kind of a really great justification of that. It's from the words of William James, who's one of the most distinguished psychologists and philosophers America ever produced. And what he says here is literally so powerful. I could not believe it when I read it. And I've seen it so often. I've seen this exact mentality have such a massive impact on literally thousands of people's lives, and I know that it is so powerful, and it can have such a huge impact on you and the connections that you have, and that's why I'm so pumped to share it with you. It's compared with what we ought to be, we are only half awake. We are making use of only a small part of our physical and mental resources. Stating the thing broadly, the human individual thus far lives an insane amount within their limit, and they possess a power, you possess a power, various sorts which you habitually fail to use. Because whoever you are have various powers which you habitually fail to use. And one of these powers, by not be using to your fullest extent, is your magic ability to praise people and inspire them. The realization of their latent possibility. Abilities wither under criticism. They blossom under encouragement. And to become a more effective leader of people must apply. Praise the slightest improvement and praise every improvement. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. Give so much to others that they can't help but feel like their entire life has changed. And they have a new direction to work towards. They have a goal to be and a place to go to. Because once you make that shift, it's radically different. It all comes down to giving an insane amount of praise. I talked about this concept in the seminar. This idea of, every single day finding the most important people in your life and telling them, hey, I really praise this one thing about you. And guys, I'm telling you, like that action, that habit will change your life. To just send like one or two of the most important people in your life a text day after day without fail about maybe one thing that you specifically praise about them, one thing you love about them, one thing you admire about them, one thing you appreciate about them, one thing that really stands out and makes you care. That little deposit of goodwill is literally taking the concept we're talking about here. This idea that praise, even in the slightest amount, can change someone's life. And if you take praise and you put it on steroids and you do it over and over again, it'll create some of the strongest relationships in your life and build ridiculously powerful relationship assets. That's the foundation. Very powerful concept. I hope you guys got a ton of value out of this module. Go out there, apply it, absolutely crush it, and I will see you in the next module. Thank you. Bye.